So I'm Christine Talley. I'm an intelligence analyst with Penlink. I have been with the team for a couple of years now, but prior to that, I worked with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department in Southern California, part of our human trafficking task force. While I was there, I kind of got thrown on that team, very quickly had to learn open source intelligence. All of our suspects, victims, they're all communicating with each other on social media platforms, and I very quickly had to learn how to find them on those platforms. And I'm proud to say I'm also currently an instructor at Cal State Fullerton, part of the open source intelligence class for all crime and intelligence analyst certification seekers.
Christine, talk about over those years, the open source intelligence and the evolution that you've seen, from just a couple years ago to today.
When I first got into this, and again, it did not too long ago, it was a matter of where are you going to find people? The number of platforms has just grown, multiplied. And so it was no longer just being able to look on 2, 3, 4 sources for someone. Now you needed to know, what are the gaming platforms? What are the direct messaging platforms that everybody's talking on? Videos, TikTok and just all, even the platforms the fringe sites, the fringe apps that people are communicating based on their interests. So it's not only a matter of knowing where people are talking and finding those platforms, but then also learning what kind of information can I leverage from that platform? What can I find there about the people that I'm looking for?
Christine, talk about how much time you can save using your OSINT tools.
Saving time, using something like Tangles, our open source intelligence platform, the amount of time, having been someone who has done that process manually, and I would look at one suspect and I would spend an entire week trying to find everything I could about them. I would have the 37 tabs open. I would have burner phones and cold computers and trying to find everything I could. With something like Tangles, I can tell you from firsthand experience that you're taking the amount of time that it takes you to go to all of those different places trying to find someone and whittling it down. So, as an example, one of our commercial customers presented me with a challenge, and they basically said something happened on their campus that really caused issues with their employees and people being able to access their campus. And it had happened several months ago, and they said, we're still trying to figure out exactly what happened and what caused the security concern. Can you let us know what happened on this date and time? Can you find out the backstory? And that was all the information that I got. And so I spent probably about 2 hours in Tangles, going through, running our searches, running our analyses, finding as much information as I could about what happened on that day, again, with no backstory whatsoever. In 2 hours, I accomplished what they hadn't been able to do in 4 months, and I identified the individuals responsible for that issue.
Talk about maybe some of the other areas where maybe, say, some of the Penlink tools have been beneficial working a case.
There was a particular case that I worked at the Sheriff's Department, and with trafficking cases, it can be very difficult when you have victims who don't necessarily want to get up on the stand, right? They don't want to have to face their trafficker, their abuser. So we try as much as possible to prevent that from happening. We don't want to re-victimize them. But we had a particular trafficking suspect who he told his lawyer that he was going to fight it. And he was going to take it to trial. He was going to take it to a jury trial. And he was basically going to get off scot-free. So we were trying to prepare for that event, having to go through a long trial. But I finished up the call detail records analysis using GeoTime. It was 3 separate phones, and going through that entire process with GeoTime and being able to not only map all of those signals, but to be able to see them on a 3D map and how those phones actually traveled together, which of course he claimed that they didn't. Finishing that report and then handing it over, and of course we had to hand it over in discovery. At that moment, it was that moment with that CDR report that the suspect said, "That's it, I'll take the plea deal." He knew he had been caught and there was no way he was getting out of it. And so to be able to use a tool to get to that kind of resolution is amazing.
Talk to me about real-time open source awareness, some of the different threat monitorings that can take place, or maybe, say, trying to prevent school shootings.
Real-time open source awareness is an incredible tool for agencies, for companies, for commercial companies as well. Whether you're talking large-scale events, whether you're talking, again, things that might be happening in school districts or just keeping an eye on what's happening in your jurisdiction. As of right now, actually, I'm working kind of open source awareness regarding a very, very, very large scale event. And when you're talking about running those kind of things and keeping an eye not only on, again, is it 2 platforms or are we talking 50 different platforms, to be able to figure out what people are saying and what's happening and what might happen so that we're prepared for it. You could potentially be bringing in tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of posts of what, people are talking about the thing that you're checking out. And there is no possible way that one person can keep an eye on all of that. You can do the best, right, that you can. And Tangles offers a lot of solutions as far as keywords and dictionaries and being able to filter down to what's really important to you. But with that, being able to keep an eye on those and then bringing in what we have with co-analyst is a huge game changer. But to be able to leverage co-analyst to help me review, again, hundreds of thousands of posts at the same time, to be able to tell me, are there particular threat keywords that I need to look at? Are there particular threat actors that need to be dug into a little bit deeper? And then being able to pivot directly from that information that comes in and start running searches and analyses to dig deeper on individuals if we needed.
Tell me a little bit more of the ease of the use of the co-analyst tool.
When you're talking about co-analyst, you're talking to your computer, you're talking to your data, you're talking to Tangles, you'll be talking to PLX, being able to go in and just use your natural language to ask these questions of your data, getting those initial answers back, and then based on that, continuing to dig deeper and deeper and ask deeper questions of the data takes you from trying to understand what do I want to ask, and now getting to the point of what is the most useful information that I can get from this particular data set.
When you get that intelligence, how do you share it?
When we get intelligence using PLX and we're looking at these CDRs that are coming in or forensic dumps that we're putting into the system, or whether it's from Tangles, we've done searches and analyses, or we've got that real-time open source awareness coming in. Everything that's part of our suite, we are able to export it because, quite frankly, nothing is intelligence unless it's been disseminated. If you have some information and you're not sharing it with anyone, then you've served absolutely no purpose whatsoever. So with our entire suite, everything that you're able to do, everything that you find within this, you are able to export it from the system, get it out into pre-built reports that you can customize and share it with your command staff or with your chain.
With Gen AI, do you have the flexibility to export really anything that you want?
Oh, that's the incredible part of using something like co-analyst to export these things, is because not only are you exporting the text-based data, but you can ask for charts and graphs, anything that you can think of for that kind of assessment or intelligence report that you need. You're able to ask co-analyst for that information and it'll provide it to you.
Christine, what are some of the best examples that you can give us, maybe on some of your case studies and some of your case work recently, maybe in the human trafficking world?
A missing child case, it was a familial abduction. The child has been missing for 3 years with the parent that he's not supposed to be with right now. I worked on the case and again, starting with some basic information that's about 3 years old. I was able to send the detective a case report that included information about accounts, and accounts that likely have geolocated data connected to them. And so now I'm able to send that report and say, hey, you know what? I was able to connect the name to the email to the account. You could potentially go ahead and write that search warrant, and we could find out, is this something this account is still being used? And you could potentially, again, find the child and the mother. So was just thrilled with the fact that this case has been so cold for so long. And to be able to find that one account, it's a shopping website where people have things shipped. So if we can find an address of where they're sending maybe packages, we could potentially find the child. So that's one of my favorite ones, missing kid cases, trafficking cases. To me, those are the most vulnerable. But I've also had the opportunity recently for the first time, since we're all coming together, for my first case where I get to work Tangles and PLX together on the same case. And so this was extremely exciting for me to be able to start and do all kinds of research in there and understand the relationships between the suspects and the victim, how that potentially started on open source, but then bringing back in, getting in those CDR records for them and bringing that information into PLX. So now not only am I looking again at open source and understanding some of the relationships, but now with that search warrant data coming back and being able to see the private messages going back and forth between them, being able to see images, being able to see videos that they weren't expecting that, somebody else would see of the crime actually happening. And then the beautiful part is, after that crime happens, who did they talk to immediately after it? And with that, that's when you can go now back into open source and start looking into those individuals and see what relationship they have with the case. So it's not just open source and it's not just search warrant data. It is going back and forth between the two in order to get this 360-degree view of your case and then bringing it to a great conclusion.